meeting. All members present, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a motion for the executive meeting minutes of January 14th. Already had discussion. Roll call vote, please. Sorry.
Yes. Mr. Catalano?
Yes.
Mr. Langman?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey? Yes. Mr. Walker?
Yes. A motion for the regular minutes of January 14th, 2013.
I'll move them. Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Yes. Mr. Catalano?
Yes.
Mr. Langman?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Welcome, everyone. Before I come down below to administer two oaths, which is always a great thing to do, and one of the things I'm most proud of doing. Just want to make two announcements. One, we had our first annual committee leadership workshop on February 2nd, Groundhog's Day, attended by about 20 of our leaders on our committees. I think it was a very helpful workshop, and the quick feedback I've gotten is our leaders got a lot out of it also. So this will become a tradition to give all our committee chairs and vice chairs the tools to get the job done, and also thank the council members that were able to attend. And we, Carmela and I were at the freeholders meeting last year, and we, among other things, said, you know, you've got to take your show on the road and come to beautiful Madison and Hartley Dodge Memorial, especially now that we're barrier free, and they've taken us up on the offer. So on Tuesday? Wednesday, so April 24th at 7:30, the Morris County Freeholders will be having their meeting right here. So you don't have to go up to the county. You can come and attend it here. For council members, they'll be here at 7 o'clock to meet with us ahead of time. Now, we had two resolutions that were passed at the last meeting. To add yet two more volunteers to our fire department. So may I have Patrick DiBiase, please?
You got a Bible?
And you have someone hold the Bible for you?
Who's going to take the pictures now?
Well, now we need someone to take the pictures. Betsy will take the camera for you. Okay, repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully, partially, and justly perform all the duties of Madison Hose Company Number 1 according to the best of my ability. I further solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. Congratulations. Welcome aboard. And thanks for your work. Don't go too far. I need your signature to make it. And may I have Joseph Gilmore? I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of Madison Hook and Ladder Company Number 1 according to the best of my ability. I further solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. Congratulations. Thanks for your Sorry. And I want to announce the employees of the month of February, and we have quite a crew of employees, and they're sitting spread out throughout the room. How about if members of the fire department, both paid and volunteer, please stand up, all that are in attendance here. So this is a two-part, not only employees, but also for the volunteers. And this is, as we know, over the last couple of years, it has been a stressful time, not only in Madison, but throughout the area, whether it's storms or other issues or trying to make ends meet. And the fire department took the lead in trying to help us make ends meet. And then when tough times came weather-wise or whatever, they were there. And so here it is. The members of the Madison Fire Department are the employees for the month of February for their dedication and commitment to the citizens of Madison. For the members of the FMBA Local 74 for demonstrating consistent commitment to work with Borough administration, introduced innovative approaches to reduce health care costs and labor costs, resulting in significant savings to Borough taxpayers. In addition, they simultaneously sought additional service opportunities to support the community, such as responding jointly on calls with dedicated members of the Madison Volunteer Ambulance Corps, pursuing professional training as EMTs on their time off, and most recently during Superstorm Sandy, creating and implementing the generator donation program, which helped many families with young children and seniors who had lost their electric power for a prolonged period of time. And for the volunteer division, for the hundreds of hours of time donated in helping the citizens of Madison during Superstorm Sandy. During the first 8 days of Sandy, many of the support group firefighters, along with other volunteer members and career staff and their wives, cooked and prepared lunches for the out-of-state electric line crews, helping restore power faster, because you can't do it on an empty stomach, and also answer the phones at our OEM headquarters to calm and inform residents. Although we have a combination of paid and volunteer firefighters, they have a common bond and purpose to continue the proud tradition of Madison Fire Department as first-class professional operation, and at that they excel. So congratulations to our employees of the month of February. Thank you so much, everyone.
This is working out. Yeah, I get the minutes.
It's reports for committees, and we may have to talk a little bit slowly because Ray's taking minutes. Luckily, we are recording, so we'll be all right.
Wow, that's hurtful. Wow, wow.
So, health, Ms. Vitale.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it's not over yet, this flu that's going around. I hear the latest is that this will may be lasting until May. So the health department wants you to know that there is still flu vaccine, and they're still giving them at the Civic Center by appointment only, so to any age group. So you need to get down there, and if you haven't had your shot, please do that. The vaccine vouchers are also available for those over the age of 18 years who are uninsured and cannot afford to pay the fee. Again, call the Madison Health Department to schedule an appointment. Right now, all the 2013 licenses and applications are all
Did you post one?
renewable
Did you
at
get
this point. So
Did you get the post one?
we had a January 31st due date, so if anybody didn't pay for any of those licenses, which are cat and dog license application, as well as the retail food establishment. All of that paperwork is on the health department website, so please get that done so you can avoid a late fee. The Madison staff will be hosting a free rabies clinic in Springfield on February 16th for any pet owner who needs to vaccinate their pet. The clinic will be held at the Sarah Bailey Civic Center in Springfield, and of course we are all invited. The first in a quarterly series of employee wellness programs was held January 29th, and the topic was cold, flu, pertussis, and you. There were 29 Madison employees that participated in the program, and the response was very positive. The next program will be held in May on sun safety and skin cancer prevention. We also started a brand new course, and it's a food handlers course. The first set of the food handlers course was completed on January 28th. There were 51 total participants from different food establishments throughout Madison and contracting towns. Participants of the class had a 24% overall improvement of safe food handling practices as evaluated by the pre and the post test. So it was very good. I attended the morning class for a while, and it was very interesting. And I learned to sing the ABCs to wash my hands now. You have to sing it twice, and then your hands are safe. So that was one good thing that came out of that. The health education programs, Take Control of Your Health, will begin on March 20th and continue for 6 weeks at the Senior Center of Chathams. The program will run from 1 to 3:30 p.m. Anybody that is interested in registering should call a 1-800 number, 1-800-247-9580. This number can also be found on the website with the flyer. Project Healthy Bones, peer leading training for anyone interested in leading a project for the Healthy Bones group. The training will be March 19th and March 21st from 9:30 to 3:30 p.m. in the Civic Center. Anyone interested in registering should call 973-784-4900. This number can also be found on the website. This is a great project that goes on and it's very, very important, and they have a lot of success with it. Matter of Balance Coaches Training, again, a really great, interesting thing to get involved with. And anybody who's interested in facilitating the Matter of Balance programs can also call that same number. That training will be on March 27th and 28th. So please go to the Health Department website. I think that you'll find lots of information. I wanted to talk, I'm wearing red today, the red jacket tonight specifically because February is American Heart Association. The American Heart Association has designated February as National Heart Days. And what we're finding now is that women are very susceptible to heart disease. And more women are dying of heart disease than any other form of disease right now, including cancer. And I think that it's very, very important. So millions of women in the month of February, on February 1st, they come together and they wear red to take action, to commit to fighting this deadly disease. I've lost two very important people in my life, two women that were absolutely wonderful to this disease, and it's not an easy disease to see. So go out, support your American Heart Association, make sure that you get your testing done, don't be afraid of it, watch your blood pressure, and eat healthier. So that's one of the things we're going to follow up at the health department. Thank you, Mayor.
Very much. Utilities, Mr. Kamota.
Yes, thank you. Electric department crews are continuing coal transfers and repairs related to Sandy, and these activities are expected to continue for another 5 to 6 months. Progress and relay testing is now complete at all substations. Also, the department installed a new generator for the sewer department at the Champagne pump station. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works and Engineering, Mr. Casanella.
Thank you, Mayor. The hoop house exhibit was canceled at the Madison Community Gardens last weekend due to inclement weather, and Mr. Stocker has decided he would like to open it up this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. So if anyone is interested, please do come out and take a look at how the vegetables have survived the 13 inches of snow that we got. There will be a public information meeting on the Sampson Avenue Improvements Project. All residents of the Borough of Madison are invited to the special public information meeting called by the Mayor and Council Monday, February 25th, 2013 at 6 p.m. In the courtroom, which is on the first floor of the Harvey Dock Memorial Building. There will be a presentation from the engineer that will include recent plans, specifications, and estimates in order to illustrate the scope of the work and design intent. Interested parties will have an opportunity for comment on the scope of work and details presented concerning the project. One final notice: massive documents pertaining to the above capital project on file and available for public inspection at the office of the Borough Engineer, Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. here on the second floor. Regarding the sanitary sidewalks, contracts have been awarded. Administration plans and other informal public hearings we just covered. Good news for the Candlewood pump station. A natural gas emergency generator has been delivered and set on a concrete pad at the station. Transfer switching and electrical modifications are in progress, and initial startup and run is expected this month. The Bailey Ellard site remediation plan, otherwise known as HISFIL, historic fill. A capping plan is required to be filed with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to deal with historic fill issues at this location. The project will enter budget discussions over the next 2 months. The Madison Recreation Site remediation plan, due to greenhouse-related arsenic contamination, has been completed by fencing based on sampling rounds completed by PK Engineering, Department of Environmental Company, and LSRP Joseph Norton. Additional work to support pedestrian access is recommended and will enter the budget discussions later this month. For Hartley Dock Memorial, used office furnishings are being placed in the moving van this week by both DPW and construction. Official Russ Brown to support the Union Beach recovery effort from Superstorm Sandy. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Community Affairs, Mr. Madison.
Thank you, Mayor. As part of Community Affairs, I'm the liaison to the BBC and the Chamber of Commerce. Recently, Chamber of Commerce President Ken Tooley and Eric Grange, along with the mayor, were downtown Madison. And as we all know, one of the things that attracted me to Madison was the downtown. Nice shops, most of them filled. If you go to some other towns, a lot of vacant stores. And you can't take anything for granted. You just can't assume that it's going to stay like that. Everybody has to take part in it. So what the mayor, the BBC, the chamber, and I now are starting is kind of like a grassroots movement. It's called Call to Residents to Help Find the Next Great Downtown Business. You can't wait for a landlord to attract a tenant. You just can't wait for a business maybe just to discover Madison. So what we're asking the residents to do is, if you see in your travels a nice store in another town, a nice shop, say to them, how about Madison? Why don't you come downtown Madison, take a look at it? If you have a friend that's looking to open up a business somewhere, take a look at downtown Madison. It helps all of us. What they're asking people to do, and if somebody does express an interest, and I'll read it to you, there's a website that people can visit called ilovemadisonnewjersey.org. It'll have a lot of information about downtown, how to go about opening up a shop. So we're starting this process now. I'll be talking about it more and more. I'm going to highlight the businesses that are opening because a good downtown drives the rest of the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Public safety, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, my congratulations to our new voluntary firemen, Patrick DiBiase and Joseph Gilmore. We greatly appreciate their service to Madison. And the fire department had a busy month. They had responded to 110 calls, and they also did 17 smoke seal inspections and 14 fire prevention inspections. And I want to put a plug in for Geraldine. Geraldine is a rare 1921 Aaron's Fox model P4 fire engine. It was purchased by Mrs. Dodge for Madison after a major fire at her estate. She was found in a barn in Massachusetts this year, and we can purchase her and get her back to Madison, where she belongs, for $150,000. Now that requires some fundraising on the part of all of us. And Chief DeRosa and others are coordinating this effort, and they've already received historic designation by the state of New Jersey for Geraldine. And checks can be made to the Friends of Geraldine and mailed to the Madison Public Safety Building, 62 Kings Road, or you can go online, www.bringgeraldinehome.org. Okay, and then for the Madison Police Department, our new chief, Darren Datchison, really believes that ongoing education and training for our police department are very important goals. For the month of January, 6 officers completed developmental disabilities training, which is how to understand and not misread people with mental health issues and how to deal with them. Our department also responded to 2,566 calls during January. Our auxiliary police worked 11 hours, and the police also responded to 85 medical emergencies. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Finance Borough Clerk, Mr. Wilkins.
Thank you, Mayor. We held a budget meeting not too many weeks ago, and the attendance was sparse, to say the very least. So it's been suggested that I go over some of the highlights I went over at that particular meeting, and I have a few things to add. So I apologize in advance for those of you who were here, but I believe it does serve a good purpose. I want to also emphasize there are 2 more meetings to be held, one on February 21st at 7 p.m. and the other one on March 2nd at 9 a.m. And you know, we're all taxpayers. This is your opportunity to say something about what you pay for. And I think you know, we're certainly open to comments from the public, and we'd like very much to hear from you. I've obviously been going through this process for the very first time. And I want to start out by thanking the people I've been going through it with, and that would include Robert Califf, Ray Cody, and Jim Burnett. They've been patient with me. They haven't always agreed among themselves, nor with me. But I can say with a lot of confidence that the sense in the room is always, what's the best we can do for Madison? And I think you can all have some confidence in that fact that you have 3 paid professionals and 1 other guy with time in his hands who are really working to see if we can't get a budget together that makes a lot of sense for us. And I want to also mention that during this process, we're very mindful of our AAA rating, which is quite important to us, and I'll have a little bit to say about that toward the very end. First, let me give you the highlights of the budget as it currently exists. The budget is not complete. If it were, we wouldn't have 2 more meetings. But as it currently looks, we've proposed an increase in municipal taxes of 1.48%. So that's well above the 2% cap permitted by the state. We're making every effort to not just go in lockstep and have the cap become the annual rate of increase. There are some highlights to be included here that I think are quite important. There's no water rate increase in this budget. There's no electric rate increase in this budget. There are no increases of any fees whatsoever, and there are no reductions in any services. It's not a miracle. It just took a lot of hard work and some imagination. There are no forced layoffs or employee furloughs in this. And as well, 33% of the increase in funding for capital projects will come out of this budget. We currently put aside $750,000 for that purpose. It goes to $1 million. We're significantly under the caps that the state allows. They allow us to levy taxes of in excess of $1.2 million higher than we currently do. And I think more importantly, they allow us to spend $3.2 million more than we have planned in this budget. So there's a lot of headroom on both numbers, and that's good news. Department operating expenses are down as well, very good, and all department heads should be commended for that. The budget also reflects increased contributions by our employees for their health and pension plans. And I want to also add that you may have heard that we had an $80,000 shortfall in health department contract revenues. That's absorbed in this budget. There'll be no change in any services provided by our health department. We've put aside $100,000 for electrical capital projects and $200,000 for water capital projects, an additional $200,000 for water meter replacements, and that'll get us up to $600,000 by the end of this year. And a couple of other notes. I know this is like a phone book of stuff, but each of these facts says something about what's going to come out of your pocket. The municipal surplus figures do not reflect $300,000 that's been set aside for tax appeals. That's a typical event. As you know, we've gone through a reval of property, so that we're anticipating probably a little more than usual. The electric surplus figures do not reflect over $1 million paid out in response to Sandy. That's a key point. A number of towns that were affected by Sandy, and some not as bad as us, some obviously quite worse, had to go out and get emergency funds in order to carry them through. We didn't have to do that. And another point, and we all owe a thank you to Bob Langergan, is he's been dealing with FEMA, and at this point we're anticipating getting back about 75% of the monies we expended for that purpose. So we'll all owe Bob a debt of gratitude. I also want to, I had not talked about the open space tax, and actually was not going to at this point, but people keep talking to me about it, and I read letters to the editor about it, so I thought it was probably worth saying a word or two about it. You probably didn't recall the white papers I wrote over the summer that I'm sure you've all read. But in a couple of those, I referred to the stealth tax, and the stealth tax was the open space tax. It's a $2 million tax for paying for all open space acquisitions. And the reason I called it the stealth tax is because if we do absolutely nothing, the fact that your properties have been revalued up would result in an increase in the taxes you would be required to pay as a result. So it's $2 million of the assessed value of your home. We have to do nothing. If we do nothing, your taxes go up. Now they don't go up dramatically. We have this this hypothetical average Madison home worth $669,000. It would be a $52 increase for that home. But nevertheless, you know, you hear 1.48% sounds like good news, and then we take $52 out of your own pocket. We don't think we're going to have to do that. The objective will be to reduce that tax rate so that the amount that's collected in open space proceeds will be unchanged year over year. In other words, we feel we can get along with the amount of money we raised last year pre-reval, and therefore, excuse me, We believe that a reduction in the rate is feasible. Now, there's one caveat. One of the pieces of the puzzle is the fields, the turf fields. And the Madison Athletic Foundation, prior to my sitting here, apparently somehow, and I won't go through all the details, it's irrelevant, but there was a sense that they were committed to paying for the fields. I think with the participation of other parts of our government. And that has not happened. They made a very good presentation a few weeks ago. They probably will raise enough to skin the fields. In other words, to pay for the turf on top, not the improvements that went into it. So contingent upon them accepting the liability of approximately $1.25 million, which is consistent with the presentation, we'd be in a position to pay for the fields, the improvements on the fields, and pay for the 49 acres with no increase in the open space tax. So to conclude, 1.48% municipal tax increase, a decline in the rate on the open space tax, net result $24 if you live in that hypothetical house. Now, I know I've talked a long time, I just want to say one thing very quickly. Keep in mind, we represent 24% of the taxes. The Board of Ed represents slightly over 60%. So I encourage the Board of Ed to try and find a half a point. Let's see if we can't do 1.5 for the entire town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. Communications and petitions.
Yes, council received one communication dated February 11th from Stephen Kane of Green Avenue regarding the open space tax.
All right, this is the first of two invitations for discussion. This is limited to things on the agenda for discussion and also resolutions that are posted. There will be another invitation a little bit later if you can speak on any topic. As with both presentations, please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. When you step up to the lectern, state your name, your address, and also record the same. And the agenda items that we have for discussion: green forum summary, NJDP Trails Grant application, appropriation of $165,000 for a new digger derrick truck for electric department, and post-superstorm Sandy Borough tree removal activities. All right, does anyone under those guidelines have anything to say? Please step forward. Ma'am.
Sam Church, Yellow Park Avenue, Madison. On ordinance 1 there, that $50,000 for the garage roof. You know, I've been here.
That we have a hearing for, so.
I could talk then? All right. On resolution 77, that Stop and Shop, what is that costing us as far as that appeal?
167, and we have money reserved for the appeal.
167,000? Last week there was an article in the Madison Eagle.
Just keep in mind that they have to pay a lot of taxes in order to have that much address, so they are a key part of the town.
All right, no problem. Last week in the Madison Eagle was the, that building up at the Dodge Estate that might be leaving. Is there an update on that? That's a big one. That $1 million they paid.
Nothing new on that, no. So we anticipate everything we've heard is that we stand, we'll find, you know, stay tuned.
They've been there. Well, how many years have they been there?
Well, it was American Oil Products and Pfizer, and now they're spinning off that part of Pfizer. So.
And is that the one we gave them a deal and their deal is up, now they want another deal? Is that how that's working? All right, but we don't know what's going on. They don't know yet? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard on items on the agenda or resolutions listed? Seeing none, I close this part of the agenda. And we move on to our agenda discussions. And the first one is the Green Forum Summary. Betsy? Again, this was a tremendous event on a very cold night. Well, turned out. So we'll give a little update right now. And I think probably the key theme is we have a lot of work to do, right?
We certainly do. I'm Betsy Ullman. I chair the Sustainable Madison Committee and Environmental Commission. And I represent a large organizing team, some of whom are here. Ellen Cranefist from Sustainable Madison, Kathy Coltis from Parks, Nancy Bruce from Shade Tree, and Missy Durham from the Environmental Commission. In addition, Jean Krakovia from the Shade Tree Management Board, Melissa Honahan, Chair of Open Space, Heather Shepard from Sustainable Madison, Paula Loco, Chair of Parks Advisory, Mike Copas, Chair of Shade Tree. We're all part of our organizing team. So that represents a lot of organizations working together. And on January 24th, we hosted a successful Green Forum. Over 100 participants, including the mayor, members of council, key borough employees, committee members, and residents came together to exchange ideas about how Madison can become more green. Drew University generously donated the space for the event at their lead design building, the Enger Center, and Madison Borough provided the funds for the yard signs, the posters, and the videotaping. And the high school even offered extra credit to AP environmental students who came. The organizing committee donated time and energy, so thanks are due all around. The Green Forum came out of the coordinated efforts of most of those committees at Bottle Hill Day in October 2012. We had a survey and asked over 100 attendees which green issues they cared about most. And those survey results guided the format and the topics of this Green Forum. And the results that we've gotten from the Green Forum will be part of our Sustainable Madison application for silver with Sustainable Jersey, as well as part of Shade Tree's application processes. And we were hoping for 50 people, and over 110 attended on a cold night. We had a lot of fun. It was a tight format that rotated people through 3 brainstorming topics: green spaces, getting around Madison, and greening homes and businesses. So there was a healthy exchange of ideas. Then we summarized the evening's ideas and had a post-event survey. And we ended the event on time. Our survey results have shown that all the attendees felt satisfied or very satisfied with the event. 57 people who were not on our original email list came to participate in the conversation. So that showed an increased outreach. And people were informed of the event by publicity, especially in the Madison Eagle and Patch, emailings, word of mouth, yard signs, and posters. And emails were mentioned most often as the way people heard about it. The video is now on the Sustainable Madison page on Rosenet to reach those who couldn't attend. And our plan is to sustain continuing contact with attendees to provide timely information on Madison programs and to inform participants of progress on the ideas that were brought to the forum. Attendees returned surveys after the event that answered why they came. And 84% came with a direct interest in greening Madison. And 57% came to support the borough. So half the attendees already are actively involved in environmental issues, and the attendees are willing to volunteer their time in support of these issues in Madison. Of the initial 42 surveys, 38 people volunteered to help on initiatives, and now we're up to 49. So we're excited about the Green Forum conversation because it gave us a vision for greening Madison that came from the community. So we see the vision as to see Madison's green spaces well-maintained, accessible, safe, and open to many active, passive, and planned uses. Also, to see Madison promote and enact safe and accessible biking, walking, and shared transportation. And to see Madison residents and businesses reduce their carbon footprint by saving energy and water and reducing waste and chemical use, that's on soil and in households, with education and initiatives. To look with a little more detail on green spaces, we heard people want education and communication on parks, where they are, what they contain, and they want more community involvement in stewardship. Also, improved paths and connecting paths that go between corporate campuses and open spaces. And they want planned park activities and some new park venues such as a dog park or a skateboard park. And maintenance of open spaces with invasive plant removal, reforestation, addition of benches, recycling containers, signage, etc. were mentioned. Now, for greening homes and businesses, the requests were to strengthen recycling with education, the extension of services, and extended accessibility downtown, use of free cycling and bagging leaves at the curb. People wish to have water conserved with more education on our water's quality, limits, and aquifer sources, and initiatives for saving water, even looking at the rate structure to encourage that. To save energy, people ask for education on renewables, especially solar energy-saving bulbs, and other energy-saving programs. People wish information on municipal and school energy usage, and they would like the Madison to offer access to a municipal solar installation and energy audits for homes. Also, people wished to reduce the use of harmful chemicals in homes and outdoors through education and programs, and just raising general awareness of small steps that individuals can take. In getting around Madison, safe routes are needed for biking, walking, and in certain streets, with promotion of biking and walking as well as traffic calming and safety measures. And ride sharing is a strong interest for commuters, for schools, for students getting downtown, and a lot of interest in using technology to communicate for ride sharing. And they asked to consider pedestrian zones in Madison. So that's a lot. But the next steps, our committee came together. You know, we have ideas, we have some focus concerns, and now we have new volunteers. The green issues overlap a lot of borough committees, making a map of them very complicated. But we're building a community of green advocates our goal. And we agreed to pull together some short-term action teams under existing borough committees that would implement some of these ideas with the infusion of volunteer help. And the Environmental Commission will have action teams focused on energy efficiency, recycling, water conservation, and green grounds. Complete Streets will focus on safe routes and transportation. Shade Tree Management Board will focus on trees. Parks Advisory will address park maintenance and park activities. And the Open Space Historic Preservation and Recreation Committee and Parks Committee will take on parks mapping. Sustainable Madison will manage the communications, especially operating a clearinghouse of information and contact lists for all the green committees, and coordination over the gray areas as needed. So the Green Fair, which is scheduled for May 9, will showcase the action team's progress and allow for further education opportunities. And right now, we will begin to reach out to the volunteers to assemble these action teams. And already we're starting green grounds and water conservation education. On March 2nd, 3 Rutgers Extension agents will present Sustainable Lawns, Working Smarter for Healthier Lawns. That's 10 to 12:30 at the Chase Room in the Madison Public Library. The Environmental Commission and the Recreation Advisory Committee will co-sponsor the event. Okay.
Thank you. Very thorough and a lot, as I said, a lot of work to be done, and a plan to get it done, which is always questions from the council. Jean?
There was one thing, I don't know if it was discussed at the Green Forum, that is to require all businesses in town to recycle. I don't think currently is a requirement, but it would be nice that we're working towards that goal.
I think it is a law. Morris County requires it, and whether some businesses say that they don't, if their landlord doesn't provide access to recycling, they don't need to do that. But I did check with the Morris County MUA, and they say that whether the landlord does it or not, it is incumbent on the business to do so. So really, their laws are there. It's mostly about enforcement and education, probably. Most of this is about education.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Recreational trails grant application. Bob?
Good evening, everyone. Last week I was asked by the administrator to put together a trails grant proposal to the state of New Jersey for a recreational trail. The state's maximum match for a trails incentive grant is $24,000. During the application process, we had looked at the Madison Recreation Center to be a site where trails development was in progress and could be advanced with the assistance of state funds. So we made that the solely owned Madison parcel where we would be developing trails. This trails proposal, if it were accepted by the state, would also provide us with some incentive to approach Florham Park for additional sidewalk on Park Avenue, Fairleigh Dickinson University for additional trails through Fairleigh Dickinson to connect up to the traction line, Lewanika Brook Park, Geralda Farms, the corporate parks, and really do a nice job tying pedestrian linkages and bikeway linkages together throughout the town of Madison. And so we put that together on a piece of paper and have a proposal there. Currently, the figures show a 42% match by the Borough of Madison for that $24,000 worth of state funding. As I look through the instructions, it appears that the state will accept a minimum of a 20% match. However, a lot of those things with these trails grants get worked out during the process, and so you know, we have a linkage proposal there. We have a trail proposal within the MRC to tie into Chateau Thierry at one end and Ridgedale Avenue at the other end, and the trailheads that have been established in the parking lots at the MRC. And I think it could wind up being a real benefit for Madison, as well as an incentive for Florham Park to move things forward in terms of pulling these linkages together. So that's the basis of the request, and if there's any questions, please let me know.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. This is what we envisioned when we first wanted to purchase the Madison Recreation Complex. My one question would be, you know, will the grant and the matching funds accomplish what you outlined here?
Yes. Yeah. No, the funding is, I think there's sufficient funding, particularly in this grant proposal, for getting all the work done that we want to get done there.
And rheology is already...
Well, they've done sidewalks. Unfortunately, we had a proposal at one time to go around the other side of rheology, which was not on the street. It was more through the fields on the Rockefeller property, and I think for most pedestrians would probably be a more comfortable walk. However, in the development of the rheology property, we did ask the sidewalks to be put around the perimeter of that property, and they have a nice winding character with them, and so it's a reasonable walk for a pedestrian.
Is there any plans to communicate your plan with the affected neighborhood?
Well, certainly we can make announcements. We have a couple residents in town that are very interested in this and have actually sent letters to Florham Park already in terms of adjoining municipalities. In terms of the residents there, obviously there's, on the end of Burnett, we still have Florham Park residents involved in that portion of the project. And so with a week's preparation on this grant application, I haven't done a lot of public coordination as far as, or outreach as far as the trail development is concerned.
So, unlike the controversy around the bike path, this is not going to anyone's backyard, where it's basically almost sidewalk along the side of the road until it goes into the MRC.
MRC itself, right. And the question there would be, do we use a portion of the end of Burnett to connect to the MRC, or do we immediately at the end of Chateau Theory cross the road, get through the fence, and run around the swale that exists along Burnett Road, so it's an off-street alignment? Either one of those is possible with this.
So, at an appropriate time, it will be good to communicate the plan with the neighbors, perhaps even get their input.
Are there specific neighbors you're interested in, or?
I'm looking at the map.
Mhm.
That you provided just along the way here, Chateau Theory, Burnett Road, and you also have included Central Avenue and Fairview on the map, so it will be nice having an information session.
No trouble.
on this.
Nothing else? Thank you.
So we have resolution 81.
It'll be out by Thursday.
All right, appropriation of $165,000 for the purchase of a new digger derrick truck for electric department. Mike?
Good evening. One of the most important lessons that I learned from this recent hurricane is that we could severely use another digger derrick. That would greatly enhance our capabilities of addressing multiple areas of downed poles, installing new poles, and perform a task which we call a spot pole replacement, which requires 2 digger derricks. This wasn't on the 5-year capital, Bob. I'm sure you're aware of it. This is a new addition. But Ray and I discussed it, and Robert Califoot discussed it, and the funding is available. I think it's something that we really should add to our fleet. We have an older digger derrick that's in fairly good shape, and I plan on keeping that so that we have 2 of those units.
And as you mentioned, it's not on the 5-year plan. Is this kind of an addition to, or
Yes.
instead of something? So
It's an addition to.
You're not replacing anything on the
No,
plan?
no.
It's going to be an addition this time. Other questions?
Mayor, can I just add 2 things? I mean, one is the funding is from the electric capital, so it's a dedicated fund that can only be used for electric utility purposes. The second is during the hurricane, Verizon just collapsed on us in terms of installing the poles. So we found through a hard lesson that self-help is the best remedy for us to be self-responsive to deal with our situation. And the reason Pine Beach, Rose, and Cedar took a very long time is we couldn't get Verizon to come set the poles. We want to be able to control our destiny and set our poles when we need to. And the one piece of equipment Mike alludes to, I think it's a 90 or 94. It's
an 89.
89, and when we saw it in the field, it also was leaking hydraulic fluid. We can't have a critical piece of equipment. We can repair it, maintain it, but it's 1989. So
It's been repaired. We put a little
No.
money into it, but it's well worth keeping.
oh yeah, no, I'm not saying get rid of it, but a new one would help us control our destiny, and that's what we want to
Actually,
get
it
out
runs
of.
better than our newer trucks.
Let's not go there. You might lose this. But we want the chief will have to be flying across town to get Verizon to stay again.
Right.
Rob?
Do you have qualified operators who could run a boat in town?
Absolutely. All my men are capable of operating those digger derricks, yes. And this,
You spoke to the borough engineer about, I know you mentioned you spoke to Ray and, about this, but you're just following up on the plan with Bob, yes?
Yes.
So if
the 5-year plan?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know if I did inform Bob about that 5-year cap.
but it's not, this is coming out of electric capital.
Yes.
We should add it.
Yep. Certainly, as we know, plans are, we learned a lot in October, November, so.
And this particular truck that I'm looking at has what they call a pole cradle on it. So you can put one pole on that truck without pulling it behind you on a trailer and go address one area.
One lesson I learned is, yes, self-sufficiency is the key in this case. And the other piece of it is what would be the cost if we stay down longer if we had to. If the money's there to fund this, I think it's a prudent investment considering we only have one right now, and that is old. And if it does go, it will be nothing to work, so, I think this is a really good idea.
Mike and I had some prior discussion about this. This is certainly a good investment. even though we have a piece of equipment that's currently still functioning.
Mhm.
Certainly, a little redundancy would be a good investment in our case.
Yes.
I think we all agree with that. So this, I certainly support this.
Thank you, Mike. We have this ordinance for introduction tonight.
Carmela, regarding the heart awareness, as someone who's had open heart surgery, I encourage everybody to get your heart checked.
Thank you.
You're right.
Post Superstorm Sandy Borough tree removal activities.
Mayor, we slipped this on the agenda. Quickly, we had a conversation. You knew it was coming. We had a conversation with Mike Kopis over at Drew University, who was in contact with a logger from Pennsylvania. And Drew University is going to have the majority of the major trees that they had downed on their property in the backwoods and other areas removed for free in exchange for the lumber. Some of them are major, large specimen hardwood trees that are desirable. And so we weren't sure if we would have a contract or any sort of detailed information. We don't from this person as of yet, but it's something that we're pursuing. I think it's a unique and innovative way for us to reduce costs and
There we go.
it's a unique way for us to reduce costs and have the trees removed. We have major tree damage at Pomeroy behind the library, Summerhill Park, all the parks. MRC, there's some major specimen trees down there, and we've been on site at Drew University, seeing how they do it. It does have an impact on the property because they have to go in with equipment, but in the end, the vast size of trees that we have down, this gentleman has the equipment, and we think we can do it in a frugal way. So we'll come back with more information if there's any sort of significant cost to this, but it may be something that would be very inexpensive that we can fit within our budget. We just wanted to update you on it.
The number I heard was $200,000 potentially that we have out there in tree removal. So if we can get some of the bigger ones out there and for free, I think it's good to pursue.
Jim, I just want to add that I opened up the project with FEMA that any ongoing cleanup work, anything that's not covered, let me know, Priscilla, I'll put it on.
Okay. We're working with David Maines on this. Paul Laco, Parks Advisory Committee's also been involved in the discussions as well. I think it'd be kind of neat to be able to buy some of the wood back from the milling company to have Madison wood.
Just like the
Tuttle.
Christmas tree from Rockefeller Center that is building a house. So, did you?
Jim, I just have two questions for you. I think that the woods at Pomeroy are really very, very important. When I saw what happened to some of those trees, it's really pathetic sight. But if they come in and they do that, I mean, is there going to be an ongoing plan, maybe working with Sustainable in Madison or Shade Tree to put some trees back? Because that's a big runoff down to the library as far as water is concerned. So, I mean, that's something I would consider. So that's just a comment. The other comment is where the woods go, the Drew Woods reach out to Green Village Road. You know, when you look up that embankment, it's just loaded with trees that came down, and there's trees that sit like so. And I always think, you know, that those trees can very easily come across Green Village Road again, and of course start hitting wires and whatever. So I would encourage Drew to probably look at some of that stuff, even though it can't be sold for wood or whatever. Some of it is pretty old, but if they have somebody in there, I would encourage that, because some of that does not look well.
We'll do. They're actually working in that area. They're a little bit deeper behind the president's house, but I think they'll be working their way towards Green Village Road.
Any other comments? So keep it coming. Ordinances for hearing.
Ordinance scheduled for hearing is introduced by title and passed on the first reading of the regular meeting of council held on January 28, 2013. It was posted and filed according to law, and copies will be available to members of the general public.
I call ordinance 1/2013 for second reading and ask the clerk to read said ordinance by title.
Ordinance in the Borough of Madison appropriating $50,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for repair of the Department of Public Works garage roof.
I open the hearing. Sam, do you want to?
I move.
No, wait.
Yeah, wait, it's here, sorry.
Here, yeah.
Sam Surshell, Park Avenue. I know the way we do business, but sometimes maybe we ought to change the way we do business for the better of the town. That $50,000 for the roof, it just fascinates how they just come up with a number of 50,000. Why don't we say 20,000, then let the contractor say we can't do it for 20,000, then we'll come back and get whatever we need. What I'm saying is that I understand it's a state law. I was talking to Ray and Jim the other day, and I'd like to see in writing, and I'd like to maybe us be the town to write letters or something and say, hey, look, this don't make sense because we're telling the contractors what we want to spend, and that's wrong. It doesn't make sense. I just suggest we do that, and I've been saying it for the last 2 or 3 years. And another question, Ben, maybe that $1 million that we got to set aside for construction, is that $600,000 for all this other stuff come out of that $1 million?
No.
That's not quite on the hearing, but...
No, just because I
No,
want to
we
bring
have
out
a
another
separate
point.
tax reserve.
In other words, we were going to spend $1 million on construction in town, on roads and stuff? Is that what we're saying?
I can answer, Mayor. Sam, in 2012 and 2013, the governing body authorized the establishment of a tax appeal reserve. So we have $463,000 in that account, which is totally separate from the capital improvement fund that pays for the roads and the sewers and the water main projects and the electric trucks that we just bought tonight. And the settlement that was authorized tonight is $167,600 of that $463. So we still have $271,000 remaining in that tax reserve pot, which we will continue
Put
to.
together a packet and get these big contractors instead of, so you have a better contractor that's going to come in and do the 2 or 3 projects that we want done in Madison, instead of doing one individual. We'll save a lot of money, I'm telling you. And you get a better contractor. I've been saying that for, I just think the way we do business, we can maybe modify it a little bit.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard on ordinance number 1? Seeing none, I close the hearing.
I move ordinance 1-2013.
Second.
Council discussion? Oscar?
Yes, thank you. I have one question. I think it's probably for Mr. Lincoln. Will we try to get reimbursement from FEMA since this was a storm-related issue?
Yes, I met with David Maines. He showed me the cost estimate from the local roofer. FEMA, I've contacted them. They are sending people down there to take a look at the roof, and we'll be reimbursed for, at a minimum, deduct whatever our out-of-pocket expenses.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Mrs. Morrow? Yes. Mr. Cavanagh?
Yes.
Mr. Lintigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
I declare ordinance 1-2013 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. So now we're on to invitation number 2 for discussion. This is when you can talk on any topic that's appropriate for a council meeting. Please step forward, state your name, your address, and again, the 3-minute rule. Lisa.
We'll start. Lisa Ellis, 46 Britton Street, speaking on behalf of the Board of Ed. Right now, I appreciate Mr. Wolkowitz's plea or challenge, but I would also like to make everybody understand the difficulties that we face. We will not get our state aid figures till February 28th. We are at the mercy of those figures. We have lost well over $3 million in the last 3 years, and we have been filling those holes any way we can. New fees, which I hate, tons of program cuts, which I hate worse. But here's our math problem. Our 2% tax levy increase is $680,000. Our projected health care increases alone looks to be between $600,000 and $800,000, and we are in the state health benefits plan. Now, some of that will be mitigated as we get out of this contract and into the new contract, but we don't know yet where all those numbers are going to fall. So we would love to be able to come in lower. We try as hard as we can to get as low as possible every year. But we're also facing, the state is also imposing a lot of new mandates and initiatives on us. We have this new teacher evaluation system, which we think will cost us probably in extra training, et cetera, about $500,000. We're also facing on a complete new testing program, which is all technology-based. It'll cost us roughly $500,000 just to become technologically able to administer this test. Extra capacity could cost us another $500,000. We never even get to touch our infrastructure. We have a new roofing report with well over $3 million worth of roof repairs. When we have a roof, just a section of one of our roofs, we just got an estimate for at Torrey J, was $500,000. So we wish we could keep it lower, but we are at the mercy of that state aid. By law, we are supposed to be getting $2 million, or by code, or whatever you want to call it, $2 million a year. We haven't seen that in years, and we have no idea what to expect next year. So we will hope for the best, and we will wait till that meeting on the 28th and see where we are. We will invite all of you, any of you, to attend any of our budget meetings. We don't want to be at almost completely taxpayer funded. That's not our choice. The state has made an absolute mess of school funding in this state, and I see no moves on their part to correct that. But those are just some of the difficulties that we face. But clearly, it's always our goal to come in as low as possible. Thank you.
Very well. Anyone else wishing to be heard? Not too often you get three times the microphone. You don't get carryover minutes from the last two times.
This is my third year that I'm bringing, I think it's a safety problem in town. Every Sunday I walk from my house to my annex, the Main Street sub. It's about maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles. I counted. There were 16 homeowners that didn't shovel their walks, and it was bad. I mean, it was nothing but ice. And the snow stopped on Saturday, early in the morning, and this was Sunday, about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And if it didn't rain, because this morning when I went out there, the snow, it would have still been a mess. I mean, it's bad. And it's the same landlords. Who enforces, I think it's 24 hours, or how many hours is it when they got to clean their walks?
It's 24 hours in the police department.
24 hours, we did send out a mixer alert and telling people they will be enforced. So.
Who enforces that?
Police department.
Police. So feel free to, as you walk in, grab your phone, 593-3000, give them a message. And
Well, why do I have to do that, Bob?
Because you're doing you're the liaison to the people. That's clause number 4 in your contract.
Yeah, but Bob, I bring a lot of.
The calls on the snow-covered sidewalk. So thanks.
All right. It was bad. I mean,
certainly, there's a lot of sidewalk.
there's no way a woman with kids. I had to walk on the street a couple times.
But I think whatever the residents that can help us with this enforcement would be greatly appreciated by a quick phone call, because it's tough for us to cover having police looking out for every sidewalk when residents.
Yeah, but the other thing I want to touch on is I'm a little confused. There was a letter in the Madison Eagle this week about this open space money from Rob and Jay. Ben
covered it during his comments. We anticipate the ability to lower the percentage so that open space tax will stay at the same level it's right now.
So, I mean, this was,
There's some moving parts that have to fall.
this was discussed among all 6 council people?
This was, discussed a few minutes ago. There was a letter of the paper that was independent, so that did not represent the council.
Yeah, but then I just want to add, I was at the meeting, last meeting, when the town attorney talked about, is it right for council people just to put letters in the paper and it confuses?
Rob, this is a fair, it's a allowable question.
It's a planted question there.
This is,
I don't think so, but Matthew, can you address that question?
Let me just be clear. The governing body members have a First Amendment right, as does anybody, to state their positions about certain issues. The way the governing body works as a body, if there's going to be a statement of the entire governing body, there is a liaison. The liaison for community relations is Councilman Landrigan, and he would be the spokesperson for the governing body should they pass a resolution on a particular issue. They want to have a statement on behalf of the governing body. So that's my response to your inquiry. What we've done and what we've said is that people should work through their various liaisons. I've said that before, and we will continue to endeavor to get that done, to have people work through the liaisons. But with that said, if somebody as an individual wants to write something to the editor, my recommendation to them as council people is to disclose the fact that you're writing as an individual, not on behalf of the entire governing body.
That's not my question. Is it okay for 2 council people to write something like that? I thought
Sir,
at the last
sir,
meeting.
I gave you my answer. I gave you my answer. I gave you my answer, and I'm not gonna sit here and castigate governing body members. My answer is that people have a First Amendment right. So, for example, if Matt Giacobbe wants to run for, I'm a council person and I'm running for re-election, I can write something, I can do literature, etc. My suggestion and my recommendation to all the governing body members is that if you're going to write a letter and it's not authorized by the full governing body, that person should specifically say, I'm writing this letter on behalf of myself. It's not representative of the body at large.
I understand. Thanks. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard? Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting. Oh, I'm sorry,
Don Brenner.
Don Brunner, 20 Roman Drive. Is there overtime or to cover the snowstorms? Is there an estimate of the cost, or was this all in the Department of Public Works budget?
I can take it. We have in the 2013 budget $140,000 for DP, well, it's called snow removal overtime, which would also include trucking through third parties. So it's a budgeted item. So unless we have a catastrophic end of this winter or later in the year, a catastrophic event, we will have plenty of funds available to pay for the overtime required to clear the streets. So we're in good shape. I mean, we didn't get the actual overtime yet for there's a payroll on February 15th. We didn't get the actual timesheets yet. We'll get them tomorrow to see what it is, but our guys worked 17 hours over the Friday into Saturday at 11 o'clock. Last night, our full crew was out because of the winter ice conditions. We pulled them out at 2 o'clock, and they worked overnight again and did a fantastic job.
So there was overtime paid?
Oh, yeah, it's overtime. Covered in the budget.
Covered in the $140,000?
Correct. We have a specific line item for snow removal overtime that's independent from the operating budget of the Department of Public Works.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard?
I would just like to address that last comment, please, by the resident. I'm not going to address him directly, but I believe I have the right to address the comment. And all I want to say is, as it pertains to the open space tax, I asked on several occasions the borough administrator and the CFO when we would discuss the rate at which we were going to tax open space. And I was told it was a governing body decision. And yet, it didn't come up for discussion. And when we saw the outline and the schedule of what we were going to discuss in our 3 budget meetings, the open space tax was never listed. As a result, okay, I feel I have every right to question it as a taxpayer and as a representative of other taxpayers. Hence, Jeannie and I wrote a letter to the editor asking for public debate on it. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing the matter with public debate. And what we did was no different than what other sitting council members, such as yourself, Mr. Mayor, did in the past when you wrote a letter to the Madison Eagle questioning the MRC 2 years ago. So I just find it curious that we have a history of council people writing letters to the editor about ongoing discussions, and yet it's never come up as an issue except for tonight. And I'm discouraged by that because we did our best to work through the system to get it on the agenda to just hear it, and it was never listed. And I'll do it again. I will do it again.
I'm not going to have a debate on this. Let me just be clear a couple of things. One is there is a process of agenda rec, so no agenda rec related to open space was submitted nor rejected.
Right, because we did ask what was going to be talked about. Is a governing body decision, governing body decision.
Yeah, and as I said at the MRC meeting, and I've said in conversation between you and I, as we talk about the funding, there's a lot of moving parts, and we need to look at those moving parts to settle on the tax. And so I think I was fairly simple. And just to, you got my blood going a little bit now. But my letters to the, as our attorney pointed out, my letters to the papers 2 years ago, I think were very clear that it was
related. And I think they were very well written too.
And they were related to a campaign. It was very clear that it was related to a campaign and not as necessary as my role as a council member. But
so the ones you wrote about in January? In January of 2011?
January 2000,
about the MRC and your views on which were very well stated and well written letter. I don't think you were a candidate.
I could take some of the blame too. I'm fairly new here, and my recommendation to you guys is just to conform with, try to establish rules and guidelines for everybody, committees, council liaisons, etc. I gave that talk a couple meetings ago, so I'm just trying to give you guys good governance and things like that. And I think that the healthiest thing is when you have the debate here in public, when the debate takes place where people, as you said, you just said before, it's good to have that dialogue, the debate, so the public can watch it, and if they so desire, come and participate in that debate here as an active member. And it's I think as I forget who said it before, that you had a budget hearing that very few people showed up. I mean, that's really what you want. You want people to be here to participate in it. So, if I've, I might have opened up Pandora's box with my my do's and don'ts, but I just,
No, I think it's fair.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So going forward, we now know that as attorney said, he would give us some language to make sure if we are acting as our
and if there's any doubt,
as a resident.
The letter from Councilwoman Simoneau was her personal opinion. I think it was pretty clear when we invited public discussion on it.
I just want to point out one thing. There seems to be an implication that somehow we're trying to bury this. I had spoken to the mayor I spoke to the mayor about the possibility of having yet another meeting to discuss this issue alone. And I recall at one point that it came up here in discussion, and I said there was an important policy issue that needed to be resolved. And that, of course, has to do with how much funding we're going to get from individuals as opposed from taxpayers. So, I would have been happy to put it on at any time. I spoke about it tonight only because it seems to have reached some peak. But I was thinking in the future we'd have a proposed budget. If not before then, certainly discussions about that budget will get more than ample opportunity.
I think just to close, I think the very clear message that we are sharing with the residents is this council is not going to be sitting back just to let it remain at 2% and the tax going up because reval happened. There will be a review, there will be discussion and action taken.
This is my first year in the finance role as backup liaison. I guess what bothers me most about this is, through my years on the ambulance corps and trying to work with this council, was the whole concept of working as a team. You know, I saw it during Hurricane Sandy. That's the only way we survived that storm, working as a team. When I hear implications in public at a council meeting, I find it distasteful and destructive to the town, to be honest. It's politicizing things which I think is inappropriate. That's number one. Number two, it was made clear early on in the budget process that a lot was left to be discussed. I understood that all pieces of that budget, including sources of revenue, was open for discussion. I'm new to this, but in my mind, a piece of that is open space. You got a check sitting right there for it. I think going forward, and my last comment is this. You said that discussion is good, you know, a public debate. Well, don't you think a letter written in the paper without the other parties present to debate it is inappropriate?
Not at all, sir.
I disagree on
That's
that.
Not at all.
Okay, we don't want to.
In fact, we opened up the discussion. Look, we've had a discussion right now. When in the past we had asked for one, we were just assured it would happen sometime.
And I would like to know what Mrs. Sakamoto's.
Okay, let's know we're moving on. Thank you. Introductions of ordinances.
Ordinance scheduled the first reading this evening has a hearing date set for February 25th. It was published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and available to members of the public requesting copies.
I'll pull up ordinances for the first reading and ask Borough Clerk to read said ordinances by title.
Ordinance 2, 2013, ordinance in the Borough of Madison appropriating $165,000 from the electric capital improvement fund to purchase of a new theater derrick.
I move ordinance 2-2013. I'll second.
Yeah.
There we go.
We changed it.
Got it, thank you. Any further discussion besides what we had a little while ago? I'm talking about during, when we already talked about the truck. All right, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Supermodel? Yes. Mr. Cavanaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mrs. Rydell?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Consent agenda resolutions.
Consent agenda resolution will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by certification and availability of funds. Any resolution requiring special will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be requested in full amendments.
Mayor, I move Resolution 74-2013 to Resolution 83-2013.
84. Yep.
84 has been posted, and we have a resignation from that individual.
That's a resignation from DPW.
I second that.
Council discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Supermodel? Yes. Mr. Cavanaugh?
I vote yes on all except R 78-201.
Yes.
Mrs. Rydell?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey? Yes. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Unfinished business?
Excuse me, do we need to go back to executive session to discuss a personnel matter?
That was R84.
No, the follow-on to that. You know what I'm speaking about in terms of staffing?
Oh, I don't know. He's talking about staffing.
I don't think you need to do it this I don't think you need to do it this evening, you do it at the next meeting.
I think an agenda rec for the next meeting would be very appropriate. So approval vouchers.
Public safety, $17,699.03. Health and public assistance, $2,280.25. Public works and engineering, $233,179.03. Community affairs, $5,591.56. Finance and Borough Clerk, $5,270,348.78. And utilities, $178,407. Total, $5,654,506.40.
I move approval of the vouchers.
Second that?
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Borough? Yes. Mr. Catherine?
Yes.
Mr. Manning?
Yes.
Mrs. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Okay. New business, this is kind of a confirmation of one and then a formalization of the other. Municipal physician appointments to the Office of Energy Management. Wayne Lajewski is already on the OEM, but this will be formalized his position as a physician, and Carmen Romano will be added to OEM in the same role as office physician. During the Sandy crisis, these two people really stepped up to provide support as part of the team, and this recognizes their roles. So I appoint Wayne Lajewski and Carmen Romano as municipal physicians to the OEM, requesting council confirmation.
I'll move it very happily.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Mrs. Borough? Yes. Mr. Catherine?
Yes.
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 Yes. I have a motion to adjourn.
Maybe it was wrong. No, you didn't.
I was thinking about that row.
There you
That
go.
probably